I was 18 years old and on my way home to California on summer break after my sophomore year of college. I had a 9-hour car ride ahead of me and stocked up on energy drinks, soda and snacks for the ride home. I left school late after dinner with friends and planned on driving into the night. I'm making good time and I'm around 3 or so hours from home, which was Yuba City at the time. I'm an hour outside of Reno and on a lonely stretch of road when it happened. I suddenly get the urge to pee. Those energy drinks I chugged are coming back to haunt me, and I kick myself in the butt for not stopping when I had gassed up 45 minutes before. But I saw a sign that advertised a rest stop coming up, and so I drove the few miles to the sign and then pulled in. Parked in the parking lot was a ratchet-looking sedan, and on the other side of the lot, a Sprinter-type van. I quickly got out and hurriedly jogged to the restroom before I peed myself. I was flushing when I heard someone enter and I froze. Now, I'm in decent physical shape and I work out quite often, but for a guy, I'm on the smaller side. I'm only 5'7" and I'm about 160 pounds. So I'm bracing myself for Michael Myers type crap when I open the door and see an average Joe looking guy, and he looked up and gave me a friendly smile and then stepped over to the urinal. I washed my hands and was getting ready to leave when he starts talking. His voice was gravelly and low, so I couldn't hear him the first time. "Hey, you like dogs, man?" he asked as he washed his hands. He was wearing those coverall mechanics wear and he had grease stains on it. My creepometer started beeping. I shot him a friendly smile and said to him as I left the bathroom, "Yeah man, dogs are cool." And well, that was the wrong thing to say because he comes following me out the door almost on my heels. "Hey, I got a new puppy. Want to see him? He's real cute." And now I'm freaking out. The keys are in my hand and my cell phone is in the other. I called back to him in a shaky voice. No thanks, I gotta get going, okay?" I'm getting into the car when he grabs the door trying to open it wider, and the dude was strong, and he's a good few inches smaller than me too. I start my car and put my phone to my ear, and what he said next caused me to almost crap my pants. "Time the cops get here, you'll already be dead." And with that, I kicked at his stomach, and thank goodness it connected. He let go of the door and fell on his butt. I then locked the doors and screeched the hell out of the rest stop. I saw him scramble for his car, but I didn't stay around to watch. I took off like a bat out of hell. I was a nervous wreck for the next 3 hours, thinking that he was going to follow me home and finish me off. When I got home, I told my dad, who had stayed up to wait for me, what happened, but he talked me out of calling the authorities. I made sure to take an entire different route when I went back to school in the fall, and because of that, I've never stopped at another rest stop ever again. And I don't intend to anymore. Last night, my wife and I made a typical trip to our local Walmart. Generally, we go between 1 and 3 a.m. I'm a bit of a night owl by nature and have a long-standing aversion to busy stores during the day. A long story involving a hold-up too. At our local Walmart, which is on the access road of a major interstate highway, is the newest in our area and generally considered safe. A few notes to start off with too. The particular area of Texas that my wife and I live in is commonly known for being an area frequented by sex traffickers. It's so bad that the city has put up billboards, since our county recently had a large prostitution bust involving women who were victims of trafficking, and Johns with occupations ranging from local pastors to deputy sheriff, elected officials on the city council, big business owners, and one of my clients that is now a former client, since he got himself involved with all of that. There's a particular area of our town that most know not to venture in at night, especially if you're a female. Ironically, or unironically I suppose, this bad area is adjacent to a large university. However, my wife and I lived in the suburbs on the south side of town, which is generally considered safe and is well patrolled by the local police department. We have 2 Walmarts in town, one in the bad area and a new one built in our suburb. The Walmart that we went to last night is the new one located a couple of miles from our house. Also, I should probably mention that my wife is 27, but looks around 19 or 20. She's an attorney that teaches deadly force, castle doctrine, and situational awareness, and handgun safety to women throughout our area. She's been involved in martial arts since she was 5, has a license to carry a handgun, and routinely carries a Sigmark 25 in her purse. In short, she's well trained for detective dicey situations. So my wife drove our truck to Walmart, and I sat in the back working on correcting an issue with one of my mobile radios. I'm a ham radio operator. She parked in a well-lit area near the 24-hour entrance as usual. As typical for the hours that we go to Walmart, the parking lot was mostly empty, except for the employees who parked near the same entrance. As soon as my wife put the truck into park, a newer grey Kia SUV pulled in sideways, almost blocking my wife from driving forward any further. A woman in her late 20s, looking like she was under the influence of drugs or something, stared at my wife for a few seconds, got out of the SUV, ran over to the driver's side window, and started knocking on the window. My wife, being skeptical of any encounter like this, barely cracked the window to see what the woman wanted. "Hey, sorry to bother you, but I really need your help. That woman over there, she needs a jump, and I'm afraid to go by myself." She pointed to a dark area of the parking lot where a newer Honda Accord was parked with no lights on. My wife then said, "Sorry, but we don't have any jumper cables. But I'll call the police for you if you're afraid." No. I need your help. It'll be quick. I just need your help for a few minutes." "Does that man have jumper cables? How do you know him?" "I'm just trying to make sure that you're not going into a dangerous situation yourself." "Oh, he's got jumper cables, I'm sure. I just need your help, now, please." Apparently, the crazy woman didn't notice me in the back seat, so I figured that it was time to make my presence known. "Listen, lady, my wife told you we'll call the police for you. We'll be happy to wait here in this area until they get here. But for our safety and yours, please just go back to your car and wait, alright?" "No, I don't need a damn man involved. Women need to stick together. Come on, honey, I'm scared and need your help. I'd help you out if you were in this situation." "I'm not going anywhere with you. I don't know you, and I'm certainly not walking into a situation that I know sounds like a setup." "You don't understand. I just need you to make sure I'm safe while he jumps his car. I need you over there now." "There's a man one row over that parked right around the same time as us. Why didn't you ask him for help?" She then begins shrieking, "I need your help." I called the police, let them know what was going on, and told them that we needed an officer ASAP. My wife rolled up the window, but the crazy woman kept standing around our truck, screaming and pointing for my wife to roll down the window again. Sick of this crap, and probably against my better judgment, I must admit, I got out of the truck and told this woman in a few colourful phrases where she could go if she didn't leave us alone. The crazy woman ran back to her SUV at this point, and sped off toward the dark, unlit area of the parking lot where the newer Honda Accord was parked. I got back into the truck and told my wife to lock the doors again and be ready to get the hell out of there if the man and the woman start heading our way. While we were waiting for the police, I observed the woman parked next to the Honda, roll down her window and start talking to the man. It was apparent that they were in a heated argument, but we were too far away to hear the contents of the conversation. At no point did either of them make an attempt to jumpstart the Honda, mind you. In fact, I never saw the man get out of the Honda. A couple of minutes later, a police officer showed up. I flagged him down, told him what happened, and pointed out to where the man and the woman were parked. And as soon as the first police officer started driving toward the dark area of the parking lot, the woman screeched the tires on her SUV and started hauling us toward the other entrance to the parking lot. Around the same time, the Honda that was supposedly dead just magically turned on. Fortunately, another police officer was turning at that entrance and was able to stop the woman. A third officer arrived shortly afterwards too. My wife and I went into the Walmart, did our shopping, and came out about 25 minutes later. When we got back to our truck, both the Kia and the Honda were getting towed by a tow company known to work with the local police department. I'm not sure what went down, but I assume that both the man and the woman were arrested. If the woman's behavior was any indication, She was heavily under the influence of drugs and likely had some either on her person or in the SUV. But later I asked my wife what she would have done if the crazy woman had approached her while we were walking and made an attempt to pull my wife towards the SUV, and her response was, I would have knocked the crap out of her. I'm an older teen from Cathedral City, Cali. I don't imagine that there'd be any other Redditors here with the same experience, but I'd like to put it out there. I'm a former, as of this incident anyway, street artist. I'd rather not dwell on the details of this subject since I'm no longer involved, so I'll just try and get to the story. So all of this took place late last year and involves me and my friends. After racking pain from a local supermarket, me and my friend Devon headed down a long road that split a couple of miles down the city to the highway. And just before the turnoff to the highway is a car mall, and beside that car mall is a wash. Assuming that some of you aren't from Cali, a wash is a big drain system that's several feet wide and tall to suck up water and push it down the sewer or wherever the hell it goes. This is a necessity since during the winter and the fall months, all of the rainwater comes directly to us from the right beside the mountains. There's even a dam just beside this wash too. To get back to the story though, we drove down to the strip club, which is just down that same street, to park Devon's car. This place is open almost all night since, well, it's a strip club. We got out and walked from here to the wash, a short walk, and we didn't have to jump the fence with the no trespassing sign since homeless people had already made their own makeshift entrance. We slid down the side of the sloping wash on our jeans with plenty of patches. This had not been our first time in the wash system. This part of the wash system was right beside the dam and had perfect real estate for tagging and piecing. After we finished what we came for, which didn't take too long, Devon told me that we should go inside the tunnel section so that we can get more spots. I didn't think much of it since most of my concerns are related to the police and not the paranormal. So we head inside and move in deep, surprised with just how long it is. Devon finally sets down his backpack and takes out his spray cans, and it was just at this moment that we heard something. Something so loud that it practically shook the whole ground. Being in southern Cali, we thought it was just an earthquake and began to pack up our things before even getting started, just in case anything caved in or whatever. But that was when we turned around and saw what we saw. The roof of the cement pipe that we travelled through was about 9 to 10 feet tall, and what we saw was crouching just to move inside of it. It was a man who was butt naked, pale as anything, and wearing a terrible dollar store Halloween mask. I didn't have the capability within my own mental integrity to scream or say anything. Where we were positioned was a long winding turn, and we couldn't tell if he was looking at us or not. I covered my mouth though and backed up the other way, eager. Devon backed up along with me slowly and quietly till we could no longer see it. He turned to me and whispered that he was going to get his phone out and take a picture. I told him that what we needed to do was get the hell out of here. We talked fast and frantically, asking each other if it was related to the earthquake, and settled on the fact that it most likely wasn't. I could hear a deep breathing coming from down the tunnel before we just began speed walking at a quiet pace, hoping to flee from this giant dude wearing a creepy bat, albeit cheap, looking mask. We ended up coming out of the other exit, passing a couple of sleeping bags on the floor that most likely belonged to a homeless person. I began to become lightheaded, most likely from the shock or just being so freaked the hell out. Once we saw the exit though, we just began to run. Pushing over the sand and onto the empty basin beside the dam, we walked up and over the side of the dam's basin until we found ourselves on the highway that I mentioned before. We crossed without much worry since it was super late and nobody was on the road. Nothing else happened that night, and nothing else nearly as strange has happened to me ever since then. I'm not really the type of guy to get super involved in ghosts or whatever that was, other than listening to the occasional scary story, but this has made me start thinking more about things that I just can't explain. I thought I'd share it with you guys to see what you think, but if you live in the area and have experienced anything similar, please comment or at least to let me know. I'm trying my best to find anyone who knows anything about this, so if you're a paranormal investigator or someone who just kind of understands things like this and is able to debunk it as some kind of trick that others may have played on me and my friend, please do shed some light. I'm kind of looking for any excuse to think of this as anything other than what it appeared to me as. Also, I'm really sorry for poor storytelling skills. I don't get a lot of this type of thing going on, and I'm not the wordy type. But I felt as if others should know just in case anyone relates or can help me out with understanding what this was. Thanks for listening, and all the names are fake to protect my friends too. This happened today, and it really messed with me. I've been thinking about it all day and all evening. So I took my 5-year-old son and a 3-month-old daughter to the playground today to meet a friend and her daughter. It's got regular playground equipment, a huge parking lot, and a big grassy area and trees around the play area. On the other side of the trees is some sort of development thing that they're working on. The area that this school is in is pretty rural. It's just a bunch of twisty roads and random buildings. I've never really thought about or noticed this until today as well. We get to the park and meet up with my friend. Another mum that we know is there with 2 girls too, and the only other people there is a dad with a little girl and a boy that look to be somewhere between 10 and 12, I'd say. So the mums are all sitting, just chatting, playing with my adorable daughter, having a good time. And the kids are playing together, everything is good. Eventually all the kids from our group kind of wander off through the playground doing their own thing. The seesaws are in the shady area. Next to them is a big stretch of grass. Then the trees with the semi-developed area are behind that. My son wants to seesaw, but nobody wants to do it with him, so I get up to go and help him, and the 10-ish-year-old boy comes over and says, "Hi, do you want me to play with him?" Which was a little strange that he asked me and not my son, but I said, "Sure, bud, go ahead." So he gets on the other side and starts seesawing with him, and his demeanor was just so strange. He didn't smile, his voice was completely flat. He didn't say a word to my son, he just seesawed with him. My son was oblivious and chatting away at him, and after a few minutes I started walking back to my bench and I hear the boy start talking with my son. Okay, so maybe he's just shy around grown-ups. I sit down and start talking to my friends, and the dad walks near us to probably go up to his car, and I say, "Hey, it was really sweet of your son to offer to play with mine," and smile at him. He then looks at me and goes, "He's not my son. I don't know who he is. He walked over and asked if I wanted him to play with my daughter, and then just kind of followed us around until you guys got here." He sort of laughed like, "Weird, right?" and then just shook his head. I got a very uneasy feeling in my stomach and looked over to the seesaws. And when I did, they were gone. I jumped up, handed my daughter to my friend, and run into that direction yelling my son's name. I see them walking almost to the trees. The trees are not close. I'd guess a football field or so away from the play area. And when I see them, I get this awful feeling and run as fast as I could yelling my son's name. He turned around and started trying to walk to me, and the little boy grabs his arm and tries to pull him toward the trees. He gets upset and starts saying, "Hey, let go of me." Now usually, this is not a quality about my son that brings me anything but trouble, but he does not like to be grabbed, pushed, or pulled, and he has ADHD, so when he gets frustrated, it usually comes out in aggressive ways. And boy, was I so thankful for this today. He starts punching the boy and headbutting him like a little crazy person, and the boy lets go as I get to them and runs to the trees. My friends are finally realizing that something is going on, so they're standing at the edge of the play area looking confused. My son is crying, I'm shaking, I don't know what the hell just happened. I asked my son where he was going, and he said that his friend wanted to take him to see Ryan, from Ryan Toy Reviews. It's his favorite YouTube channel, and he talks about it non-stop. He told the boy about Ryan, and apparently the boy told him that he knew where Ryan lived, and did my son want to go and visit him and play? So, of course, my son said yes. I don't know what the intention was, but it was a kid. I don't understand why he would lie to my son, and why he wanted him to go into the woods, why he was just so weird. Maybe he was innocent, but I don't think it was.